Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and I went to the YouTube space in New York City to interview some folks from the MoCA Alliance the other day, and we didn't have these devices on the table to give you some context. I figured I would give you a brief overview of MoCA technology before we jump into the interview so you know what we're talking about. I've done a lot of reviews on this stuff in the past. You can see some of those videos down below in my playlist in the video description, but I wanted to show you how these things work. So in a nutshell, what these things do is extend your network through your cable television wiring. And the best example I can think of would be maybe you've got a game console on the other side of your home that isn't connecting all that well via Wi-Fi, and you want to get a more reliable connection. So if you don't want to run Ethernet cable, but you do have cable TV wiring in place, you can get two of these things. You take one of them, plug it into your cable TV wiring near your router, plug the Ethernet into your router. On the other side of the house, you plug the cable TV wiring in here and then plug your game console in here, and they will talk to each other through your coax connection. And what's nice about these devices, these two came in from Action Tech free of charge, by the way, a few months ago. We reviewed these in that playlist down below. What's nice about this is that they work just as fast as Ethernet. These run at gigabit speeds and really perform quite nicely. In fact, you can get a bunch of these all over the house. If any place you really want to put a Ethernet connection in, you can. And again, plug and play, and these boxes actually have a splitter, so you can just pop in your TV set or set-top box into the second connector here, because they don't interfere with your TV service in the process. So you get all the benefits of gigabit without having to run new wiring, and it doesn't mess up your TV. This is their wireless access point. Again, very similar concept here. You plug the coax in here. You have one of these boxes near your router connected to the network, and all of the Wi-Fi traffic gets transited over this coax connection back to the main box, which then goes out to the router. And this one also has two Ethernet connections on there also. So if you want something with a faster wired connection, you have that in this box as well. So very flexible technology. We're going to learn more about it in this interview. I do want to mention, in the interest of full disclosure, this is not a paid sponsorship. So all the opinions you're about to hear are my own, and nobody has reviewed this content prior to it being posted. So let's get on with the interview, and you can check it out right now. Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and it looks like I'm at a diner, but we're actually at the YouTube space in New York City, and I'm joined by two folks from the MoCA Alliance, Rob Gelfman and Charles Serino. And the MoCA Alliance has been around for a while. We've reviewed a lot of MoCA products, and what MoCA does is it allows you to extend your network through your cable television wiring. I'm a big fan of it. It solved a lot of problems in my home, and they were in the city, so I figured we'd get together and just talk about what this technology is, what people should be thinking about when they're trying to solve a Wi-Fi problem, for example, in their home, and we can just kind of look at what all the alternatives are and why I think, really, truthfully, that MoCA really is the best solution, I think, for most people. So why don't we start at the top? What is MoCA? How does it work?
So MoCA is a technology that runs over coax.
And coax is your cable TV wiring,
Cable
right?
TV wiring, and it's it's in everybody's house, just about in the United States, so and around the world for that matter. And the cable provider brings the signal into the home via a piece of coax. And at that point, it hits a set-top box, and that was. The alliance was formed about 12 years ago in order to help facilitate, DVR technology and multi-room DVR technology.
So if I wanted to watch something in another room, it was transmitting data over this.
Yes.
Thing. Yep.
So, and this became a natural, evolution for the product to use the coax from the main box and send the video to the next box down the line, so you can watch it in your bedroom or your family room, and and continue to watch your content or view it when you want it. And a lot of the major operators in the United States and chip providers are part of the MoCA Alliance, and collaboratively they formed this association to develop the technology. And of course now we've had several iterations. We started out with 1.0, and now we're at 2.0, mesh and bonded rather. And we continue to evolve the product. So it's a great technology, and it's been supported by all the operators.
It started as a TV viewing thing, and now it's a data thing, and it's solving a Wi-Fi problem. Rob, this has not been a consumer technology up until, it's been out there for consumers, but now it's really a solution for consumers, whereas before it was kind of just an operator thing, right?
Right. We had gone with a lot with the operators, who were the first to embed and integrate and deploy. So
an operator being Comcast or Verizon.
Verizon, Fios, for instance, Dish, DirecTV, Cox, pretty much every cable operator in the United States, and most telcos as well, and Canada and South America. The point is, it becomes a backbone for Wi-Fi. So as more devices go portable, more content moves to a portable device, how do you support the Wi-Fi? So you have to have Wi-Fi. So MoCA, the whole point of MoCA is really to support the Wi-Fi, but use the coax, use the existing wiring.
Right.
Nobody wants to install new wires. It's a pain in the neck. You have other wires available, and I think we should segue into this. So you would have an Ethernet, for instance. So Ethernet works just fine.
Right, if
but
you have it.
if you have it.
Right.
Now, new homes, people are installing Ethernet, but they're also installing coax. And the coax installation is free. But people don't realize as you migrate up the chain and improvements in Ethernet from, say, a Cat5, you need a Cat 6 for the higher speeds.
Pull off the cable out, put it back in.
So it's not with MoCA. You use the same wiring. So every time we went from 1.0 to 1.1 to 2.0 bonded, which gets you a gig, to 2.5, which gets you 2.5 gig, which is all available today, it's the same wire. Now, a lot of people have tried Powerline. Now,
and I try Powerline too. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Exactly, and that's not a solution. It's very easy because there's an outlet in every room. They're in your closet, in your bathroom, in your patio. So there's an ease of use benefit, but it's a horrible medium for video. It's very staticky. And it'll interfere with everyday household appliances, your microwave oven and so forth. So that doesn't become a solution either. So why not use the best solution? And coax, and nobody thinks about coax. You know, I think it's old school.
You plug your TV into and you're done.
Yeah, and you're done. You never have to talk about it. But you know, it's immune. You can't hack. There's no interference issues. It's in all the major rooms where you would either consume content or do email even. It may not be in your closet or your bathroom.
But then that's the Wi-Fi. You can get it from there.
But that's the whole idea for the Wi-Fi.
I think we should talk about this notion of backhauling, because when we look at a Wi-Fi mesh system, if let's say I'm in the far reaches of the house, I've got 3 of these things set up, and I've got one over here is the main unit, my middle unit is over here, and then I'm hitting this third one. So I'm going to this third unit via wireless. It's going wireless to the second unit, which is then hopping back to the third one. That's a problem, right? So how does MoCA solve this? Is there something that we can do with MoCA?
Sure. Well, I mean, assuming you have a coax up in that further location, you know, you put these adapters between location A and location Z, if you will, and you know, it travels basically at the speed of light. It's just slightly under that in coax, and you know, so you have that you don't have that middleman in you know, regurgitating all the data bits and retransmitting them back down to the main unit.
So it's really like having an Ethernet cable, even though it's coax.
You know, MoCA is an IP transport medium that was designed to do that, and that's what it does, and it does it really well.
And you've done some studies now to look at how this does as well as it does versus Wi-Fi and other technologies, right?
So I think something, and again, the consumer end user probably doesn't ask this, but have you done field tests? So MoCA, for instance, has done numerous field tests over the years. We recently concluded our 3rd field test at our expense. And we compared using some of the newer Wi-Fi mesh products that are available off the shelf in retail today. And using only wireless as a backhaul. And then we use an Action Tech wireless extender, which integrates Wi-Fi AC and MoCA 2.0.
And that Action Tech, how it works is you put it wherever you want to put it. You plug in your cable TV wiring into it, and now you've got a Wi-Fi backhaul to wherever you want it to go to via the coax cable. Is that
pretty much that simple? Yeah. The idea, and I think it's really important, even if it's repetitive, the idea is to make your Wi-Fi better, not to replace Wi-Fi. We want to take Wi-Fi to every room. But the laws of physics, the nature of Wi-Fi, number of users on a device, packet size, and so forth, building construction materials of a house may hinder a clean Wi-Fi or sustainable Wi-Fi connection in every room.
Particularly at the higher frequencies, as you know, as Wi-Fi has moved up in the spectrum, the higher frequencies tend to hit brick walls faster.
And I found the 5 gigahertz, which is faster, doesn't get you as far as the slower 2.4 gigahertz does. But if you could put your 5 gigahertz,
it's all physics. It's about the length of the wavelength.
And so you found there was some pretty sizable differences here between.
We've seen, well, for instance, with the wireless adapter from Action Tech, 100% of the time, we got over 800 megabits per second.
On that backhaul?
On the backhaul. Well, for the Wi-Fi, using the backhaul, 75% of the time we got over 900 megabits per second. Now, I think what's most impressive is not just the high speed, but consistency of the high speed. It wasn't just occasionally. It wasn't, well, Wi-Fi, what mood are you in today? Well, you work today? Well, I get my email today.
What's the neighbor doing with their microwave experiments?
Right, exactly.
Or Lon.
Yeah. But then we went, of course, and we wanted to see the Wi-Fi mesh, which basically are saying, well, we are the backhaul, so we'll have a wireless backhaul. Now, people don't think in terms of a backhaul, but what you really want is this backhaul or backbone.
Right, which has, by the way, been a standard of the industry that you all came from, which is you got to get the stuff from point A to point B, and that is your backhaul. And one of the challenges I think consumers are facing is that all of a sudden this network engineering is coming home.
Right.
And it's getting and these devices try to make it simpler, but they don't perform well because although they are simple,
have you ever set up a router?
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, no. And everyone trying to make it simpler.
You're reading a book. You're YouTubing it. You're trying to figure out how to do it.
And backhaul's a big challenge. But what I found interesting, and it really is, you just plug it in on the MoCA, and
MoCA is a self-creating network. That's the beauty of it. So it will find itself. And some of the field tests we've done in the past have basically established, and in like 95% of the homes, you plug it in, it connects, and it's happy. And if you have multiple devices, if one of them goes off because somebody hits a power switch or the cleaning lady comes and unplugs it to put her vacuum cleaner in, the other pieces just automatically take over control of the network and keep the network alive until that one rejoins.
So there's a lot that you're doing behind the scenes with this technology.
Makes it totally hands off to the consumer. They don't have to do anything. You basically plug it in, make the connection, and the lights go green and you're on.
That's it.
And you don't think about it anymore. Now, with a Wi-Fi mesh product, I mean, some days it works great, and then the next day it may not.
Right. And you have to adjust the location of it or start going through the testing process.
And you're still in there tinkering with the program saying, okay, your name's got to be this, and your SSID is this, and you're having all those kind of fun things.
I think there's something important too, and because if I'm subscribing to a broadband service with any service provider in the United States, and I want a top tier service level, and I want a couple hundred or beyond, and you're paying a premium for that, well, you expect to get that consistently throughout the home.
Right.
So you may even bring in a Wi-Fi product, a retail product, and you may install it on your own, and it may not perform as well as promised or what you are paying your service provider. So you're going to call your service provider.
Right.
Because you're going to equate Wi-Fi with the internet.
So I'm calling, so Comcast is getting calls. They don't want to get those calls. And they're looking to you to say, we don't want these calls anymore, right?
And the consumer doesn't want that call because the operator doesn't want to send a truck, but the consumer doesn't want to wait around from 8 to 12 and waiting for it. Hopefully maybe he'll show up today. Right. To fix this, because once your internet down, everything stops. Right. So that's one of the things we prevent. So what we want to do is just educate the consumer that there's wires out there, there's coax in particular, it's in your house. It's not to eliminate the Wi-Fi, but really to make the Wi-Fi better. But you really should also take a look at your Wi-Fi mesh product. Don't just take for granted the number on the box. Make sure that number, and every box vendor and every retail outlet will give you the top number, what's called the theoretical speed number. That's theoretical. That's never even achieved in a lab. Right. So what you always want to do, and the retail outlets, they may not even know that. The salespeople, what you really want to know is, what are my actual data rates? What is the net throughputs? All right. They may or may not know that. Right. All right. If you go, and that's really what you want to check. But at the same time, it's not just how fast do you go; it's how often. So am I getting a couple hundred meg or more in my living room, but am I also getting it into bedrooms? Right. Now that's what's critical. Right. And you're paying for that.
Right. Exactly. So I think it's really important to really think about what you're getting into, and then you might bring this Wi-Fi mesh thing home. It may not work, depending on what your house is looking like. And I think one of the things that I found with MoCA, I tested it out in some really crazy parts of my house that I know have 12 splits in the cable line. I was surprised there was very minimal loss of speed when I connected those things up that way. So it really does work well.
Well, that's the thing. It's not a distance issue. And one of the things we want to test with our tests, so 100% time we got over 800 meg, but we never got that with any of the Wi-Fi mesh products. So we got, in some cases, we were able to maintain 400 meg. Okay. In most cases, though, we couldn't even get 200. Now, granted, we stress tested this. We took the operator perspective. Right. So he wants to test scenarios today, but he also has to predict or at least try and forecast traffic usage tomorrow. Because you give people bandwidth, they use it,
right?
And they're gonna, now it's all HD, but wait, 4K kind of formats to the smartphone. Well, that's going to consume a lot of bandwidth, and then you do that multiple times to multiple devices, which is typical, not atypical. Right. That's going to stretch your Wi-Fi network. Now, it's not necessarily the fault of the Wi-Fi mesh. You can remedy this.
Right.
Add MoCA.
Right, and that's an important point, that you can get the Action Tech thing and do it that way, or if you have one of these mesh systems and you're not happy with it, because I found with mine, with a few that I tested, that adding in the MoCA as the backhaul dramatically improved performance on those remote nodes, because I wasn't hopping from one to the other.
Because basically all you did there was create access points, multiple access points in the home.
Exactly.
And then you weren't relying on their ability to mesh. You were using the MoCA as the
backhaul. And it made a big difference in a few rooms in my house. So, it was really remarkable.
But, there's cost associated with that, and it's a lot. Those devices are fairly expensive.
They're very expensive, right? And so you have
don't need that much of it.
You can buy 2 or 3 of these
less expensive, access point and connect it with MoCA and achieve the same results. So I mean, from that standpoint, it's a very competitive solution.
And people have MoCA now in many cases and don't know it.
They may not even know it. If you're any operator in the United States, just about, you probably have MoCA in your network. You may not know.
If you've done multiple room DVR, you have it, or the hopper, or you have.
I've noticed on some of these Comcast modems, there's an option to turn on or off MoCA. So that is it. So if you had that Comcast thing, perhaps it's on and maybe it's off.
Comcast X1, Cox, Verizon's Fios, DirecTV, Dish, Hopper, just to name media off the top.
So it does work with satellite TV also?
Absolutely.
Really? Okay.
Oh, you bet.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I read somewhere that wasn't the case on all devices, or is that does? Okay.
Well, it's designed to work in multiple bands, so depending on what band is being used by the service provider, it can move to the other band. So it's very flexible now.
Oh, interesting.
Now, if you buy an adapter, if that might be what you're talking about, it might only be available for, and it'll say on the box, use only in a cable.
Right, I've seen that.
That may be.
So some adapters specifically may only be cable, but generally the standard works.
But the standard itself.
If your service providers provide it, they'll have it adjusted to make it work.
Okay.
But yes, the specification is pretty flexible.
Excellent. I've got a bunch of reviews up on this, so people can check out. I did a lot of the Action Tech reviews, and again, it was honestly plug and play. And I'm not just saying that. It was really it was very simple for.
Well, we just produced a video on how to install. So at MoCAinyourhouse.com.
Okay.
We will publish the report, MoCAinyourhouse.com or MoCAalliance.org.
This was done by a third party, right? So this is not something you guys are just coming up with to.
We hired a third party to literally go into each house and write the report. All the products were bought off the shelf. They are currently available today, including the MoCA devices.
Okay.
So and that's what we wanted to test. What is it that you can buy today? What is being advertised today? But I think there's one thing to also add is not in addition to performance. So there's how fast and then how often, but there's also latency.
Right, which is important to gamers, right, who want the fastest possible milliseconds back to their thing, right?
Absolutely, but even if you're downloading a Netflix video or any video,
a YouTube video,
right?
Don't download it, watch it, and stream it. So I get revenue.
Exactly, but make sure it's over MoCA for best effect. The consumer may not think in terms of latency, but he knows latency because it's called spinning wheel. That's latency.
Right. So when you're waiting for that web page to load up or something going on, or that ping to your game server is not there, the backhaul going over the wire is going to be a lot less than hopping through 3 different access points to get to where you're going.
And in fact, latency could be worse in a mesh environment.
Right. And it's so many more hops.
It's virtually non-existent. There's always going to be some, but it's virtually non-existent over MoCA.
Yeah, I found the latency overhead was pretty low over MoCA comparatively to what you might see with
almost imperceivable.
Yeah. Right. Excellent. All right, so where can people find this report again? At MoCA Alliance?
MoCAalliance.org.
Okay.
And MoCAinyourhouse.com.
Excellent.
And you don't have to register. You could just download it. It'll be PDF, and we'll have contacts if you want to talk some more.
Great. Well, Charles, thank you very much for joining us. Rob, always good to see you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks again. And we look forward to seeing. I guess there's probably some more developments over the course of the year. So
you bet.
I'm always eager to see more of this. It's been interesting, too, because I hear from viewers when they try things that I review as to whether or not this technology works. And MoCA, more often than not, is a very positive response from viewers, like, it solved my problem. Because they had a very specific problem, they had the wiring, and that was it. So
I never get tired of hearing it.
And we always have marshmallows cooking in the fire. So there's some more goodies coming.
Excellent. Well, I look forward to seeing that. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
This channel is brought to you by my Patreon supporters, including gold level supporters Mark Bollinger and Brian Miller. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/Patreon to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/S.